Speak louder. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Just want to give you an update on what happened yesterday here in Manchester Township. I'm Greg McLaughlin, the Chief of the New Jersey Forest Fire Service. We have several of our partners here to speak, so I'm going to try and just moderate because since there's such a large crowd, I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. We have the Public Affairs Office from Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst. We have the Police Chief from Manchester Township, the Ocean County Sheriff's Office. We have Councilman of Manchester Township, Joe Hankins here, and we also have Manchester Township OEM here as well. We are with the Department of Environmental Protection, State Parks, Forest, and Historic Sites. Our Assistant Commissioner, John Cecil's here. He's going to speak first. Then we'll turn things over to our Operations Fire Warden, Trevor Rayner, to talk about what happened yesterday, what happened last night, where we're at today, and what the forecast for today is. Okay?
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. My name is John Cecil, Assistant Commissioner for State Parks, Forests, and Historic Sites at the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Thank you all for joining us. I just want to start out by saying thank you to the heroic team of Forest Fire Service staff, Office of Emergency Management, folks from the Department of Defense, the Joint Base, over 30 assisting fire departments from throughout the state, really, Sheriff's Office, and a number of other supporting emergency response agencies. These folks did a heroic job last night. Speaking just from my personal experience, having been in this role for a couple of years now and seen a few of these incidents, I showed up here last night at about 9:30 and jumped in the truck with the incident commander. We went straight into the fire to start, continue working on the attack. This fire exhibited extreme fire behavior. We saw a wall of fire, 200-foot flames, raining fire embers. I don't mean to be dramatic, but this was a severe situation that these guys and gals managed to keep in a place and protect lives and property. And from that, we cannot thank them enough. With that, I'll turn it over to Assistant Division Fire Warden Trevor Rayner, and he can walk you through some of the details of the incident. Trevor?
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. I'm Trevor Rayner from New Jersey Forest Fire Service. I'm an Assistant Division Fire Warden, and today I'll be going over a summary of our operations yesterday into today. The incident commander's on the fire right now. He's currently engaged, and I'm going to give that summary. Basically, the synopsis of this wildfire is that it occurred yesterday afternoon on a special weather statement for Fire Danger Fire Day. So, as you know, the fire weather was severe yesterday due to low humidity, strong winds, and high temperatures. Currently, we're in the leaf off season, so that warm sun penetrates the open canopy of the trees right now since we haven't greened up. So the forest floor and all the fuels are very dry. Should there be an ignition source, the wildfires spread quickly with yesterday's weather. So the fire came in yesterday afternoon, and resources were on scene quickly. The Forest Fire Service came in and assisted Joint Base through cooperation and partnership and good collaboration. So the initial strategy was to hold the wildfire west of Route 539. Due to the weather conditions, we were unsuccessful in that. The fire jumped Route 539 and was burning east of that, going towards Lakehurst. We had some initial tactics to check up the fire before it got to Lakehurst, except we were unsuccessful in that due to some of those high flame fronts, a lot of embers, a lot of spot fires ahead of the main fire. So ultimately, the fire burned. We're at 3,859 acres and 50% contained. And ultimately, we're using hard pavement, hard roads, hard control lines, barriers to wildfire spread to check that fire up. Interior sand roads that exist within the forest weren't suitable control lines, so we had to use something more substantial. The wildfire is under investigation at this point. We have about 75 Forest Fire Service personnel out there. We have 15 Type 6 engines, which are the brush trucks you see driving around. We have tractor plows out there, bulldozers, UTVs, 2 helicopters, and smaller engines from the Forest Fire Service. Great partnership with the county and local fire departments. They were in place conducting structure protection, which they were protecting the houses as the wildfire progressed along the homes and the property lines. The structure protection leapfrogged from house to house, stayed with the fire, and ultimately saved a lot of homes. It was successful in that accord. Injuries, no injuries at this time, and we have aerial assets on location. The synopsis for today is continue to improve and reinforce control lines, continue to mop up. Route 70 and Route 539 were initially closed due to the wildfire. We've reopened them. Beckerville and Horicon Ave remain closed at this time. We're working hard to mop up and reopen that so that there's no smoke on those roads. Traffic safety is a priority. I'd like to urge to everybody, drive carefully through the smoke if you see firefighters. And so today, it's probably a worse fire day than it was yesterday. So we're looking to wrap this fire up quickly and safely and put in a really strong effort with our cooperating agencies and our agency so that we're ready for the next wildfire. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to Greg.
Good morning, everyone. Chief Robert Dolan from Manchester Police. Just before 11 o'clock, Forest Fire had made the determination that we had to evacuate homes in the Beckerville section of the township. So members of the Manchester Police Department, Manchester Emergency Services, Lakehurst Borough Police Department, as well as Ocean County Sheriff's Department and Toms River Police Department went house to house rather quickly and evacuated about 70 homes in Manchester Township to the Manchester High School, which is where we had set up a shelter. We then assisted Lakehurst Borough with the evacuation of about another 100 homes along Division Street and Proving Ground Road safely. The shelter was open till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when Forest Fire had notified us that we were allowed to return to their homes. So everyone who was evacuated is now back in their homes. There was no structure damage that I'm aware of at this time, and no injuries, and everyone was safe. Having been along Horicon Road at the time of that evacuation, as my Forest Fire member said, the structure protection units for the fire companies did an outstanding job. I think the count was 32 different fire companies, including the 4 in Manchester alone, as well as Lakehurst Fire Department, did a great job in protecting those homes. So without those efforts from the volunteer and all career services, it could have been a lot worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good? You're good? All right. Councilman.
Thank you. Certainly Manchester Township, the mayor and council are thankful for all these agencies that came together. We're thankful that there was no loss of life, no loss of property. I do know that a horse farm was actually evacuated. It wasn't mandatory, but I believe they moved over 30 horses as well off site. So, you know, this all comes together with tabletop drills. We've conducted drills in the past with New Jersey Forest Fire Service. This plan of action has probably been dry run several times. All they do is plug and play the location, and it's so important to do this pre-planning and have these events at least looked at from time to time. So I thank the New Jersey Forest Fire Service, the multiple agencies that came out to assist us with fighting this fire, the volunteer companies, who those guys are going to end up going to work today as they're released and do a full day of work on top of being up all night. So just wanted to thank everybody for that.
Good morning, everyone. I am Captain May Morales. I am from the JBMDL Public Affairs Office. I just want to echo the gratitude that we feel for all the first responders and volunteers who help with the fire. On behalf of the base, we are also very proud to be part of this unified response command with all first responders. We know it's been a difficult night for a lot of Manchester residents, including our own base residents in base housing. We are doing everything on our part to communicate with our DOD individuals and personnel, as well as those residents affected, to ensure their well-being. Additionally, there were no impacts to the structures on the installation. Therefore, there is no impact to mission. Business will be back as usual, and I say that because obviously we had to take a momentarily pause due to what just happened. We did publish a press release. It is available on jbmdl.jb.mil. I also have a few copies if you prefer a hard copy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we can try and do questions here now if folks want to. So we'll just try to go right to left. Want to go ahead?
In terms of the cause, I understand it's still under investigation. Do you suspect any human activity that was involved in how this fire started? Also, do you anticipate any other homes needing to be evacuated today because of this situation?
So all fires in New Jersey, all wildfires in New Jersey, we investigate, and so this will remain under investigation. Whether we actually have are able to determine a cause or not is still to be determined. But keep in mind that approximately 99% of wildfires are human caused, whether that's accidental or intentional. So we'll continue to look into it. In terms of evacuations today, we're confident that we have a good handle on this fire, and so we're not requiring any additional mandatory evacuations.
Jim from Leaders 12.
Yep. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how are you? We always talk a lot about Ocean County being susceptible to these types of wildfires. We also have about 200,000 people in which live right on the border of the crime barriers. Was this a worst case scenario? And how were you able to stop these flaming embers, which I saw right on the steps of Leisure Knoll, from catching fire in some of these age-restricted communities where people might not have the efforts to contain it?
Yeah, so this definitely had high potential to be extremely catastrophic. We had a really well-coordinated effort and good team cohesion between all of the agencies that were here last night. That points to Councilman Hankins' earlier statement about how we train together with the state and our partners here to prepare for these events so that we can respond quickly. It took quick action to get fire on the ground to try to prevent the oncoming fire from spreading, and simultaneously we had structure resources coming into the area to protect homes, and yet at the same time we're also evacuating people. That's a really difficult thing to coordinate on the fly quickly, but it worked out really well last night, and we're really thankful that it was successful. Nobody got hurt and no structures were damaged.
I'm with NBC New York, the gentleman from the Forest Fire Service. You said today is expected to be a worse day than yesterday. And just coming here, we saw those electronic signs on the Garden State warning people about fire dangers. Here we are on a day and a stretch that's going to be incredibly warm. So is there apprehension about what could come from this even before you get it contained?
So we're always staffed. We have a contingent of resources always available, always 24/7. So yesterday and today we have upgraded that, elevated our staffing. We have a contract airplane on duty this month that's available to drop water. We always have aircraft available, helicopters. So we're taking the necessary steps to prevent or quickly suppress that next one. But certainly the weather and the fire danger is very high here, and that's always a concern to us. Thank you.
Just to add to that question, what Trevor was indicating as well, we'll issue precautionary statements. So we're restricting statewide all campfires and agricultural burning as well. So in addition to our increased staffing and patrol levels, we've also have our in-house aviation assets standing by in case there is a fire. And at this time of year, we'll bring in additional aircraft on contract to support initial attack fire suppression.
I know those restrictions just for this area. Is that going to be statewide?
Statewide.
So they're dealing with that in TNEC too.
That's right, statewide.
Couple quick questions. Vin Evans, New Jersey 1015. With regard to today in Manchester and Ocean County, what are some of the dangers or challenges that firefighters are facing and things that Manchester and Ocean County residents should be concerned about or worried about, things that they should look out for?
Sure. So, number one, the guys and gals still out on the fire line. They've been working since last night. So, number one, I would say, is fatigue. We aren't out of the woods yet. We're in a dry stretch here until Friday. They're talking maybe rain this weekend, but not much. So, fatigue is number one. Warm temps today, hydration, and then a lot of dead standing trees which are on fire. They will have to be, they'll have to be squared out, and that's always a hazard to firefighters too, should they fall down.
And the other question I have for either of you, just with the weather for the rest of the week, and the fires of the last couple of days, what are your concerns for the rest of the week, not just for Manchester and Ocean County, but across New Jersey?
Sure. So sort of like what we mentioned earlier, we're taking the necessary steps. We've implemented restrictions on agricultural open burning and campfire restrictions. We've upped our patrol levels, so there's more people in fire trucks actively patrolling, looking for wildfires. We have fire towers. There's staff today looking for wildfires, letting us know when there is one. And we have a aircraft on duty, ready to take off at a moment's notice, can drop 800 gallons of water at a time and knock down that fire and try and prevent it from getting established. Thanks.
Are there any homes affected by air quality with the smoke that you want residents to know about?
You guys?
Yeah, not that we're aware of at this time. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sure. Go ahead.
So the wildfire is 3,859 acres and 50% contained. Contained simply just means that the perimeter's been constructed. So contained means, there's been a line around it, but not the whole wildfire's actively had water squirt on it. We're pretty sure that it's gonna hold. We're almost positive at this point that it's going to hold, but we're conservative in our numbers due to the enhanced fire weather today.
And is that in the Beckerville Joint Base area, or where is it now?
So we have a map we can certainly go over, but basically the wildfire is north of Horicon Road and Beckerville Road and Route 70, south of Broome Road on the Joint Base, and east of an unimproved road on the Joint Base, we'll call it Rock Road, and west of Division Street in Lakehurst.
Excuse me, Ted Goldberg with New Jersey TPS, and coming from North Jersey, where we heard about a wildfire through the city as well yesterday. Do you guys know how many wildfires exactly were started yesterday throughout the state?
I don't have that number. Do you know, Jimmy?
Yeah.
We can get that for you in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody over.
I heard you just mention his name. I'll be the kindergarten person that asks, why is this called Jimmy's Waterhole Fire?
So
It's not after me.
it's not after you. Well, so typically wildfires of the large size are given a name relative to some known location and sometimes relative to the point of origin of the fire. In this case, there was a water hole in front of the fire that we were working hard to try to contain the fire around and keep it on one side of the water hole. So this became sort of a intense working spot for everybody, and thus that became the name.
Quick question. I know it's been a busy year for you all Parks Fire Service. How are the firefighters handling fatigue? How are they dealing with fires?
So yeah, Trevor mentioned this as well, that fatigue definitely sets in when you're working long days and through the night, especially when we're starting to get into these warmer temperatures where we may have some hydration issues as well. But what we've been doing is trying to rotate in and out crews on a regular and routine basis. We're bringing in resources from other parts of the state where fire activity is lighter at the moment, and also we're working with our partners such as American Red Cross and our local folks here at the fire company to help firefighters rehab, to stay hydrated, to stay fed. The folks here have been more than hospitable in providing all kinds of coffee, refreshments, and we also have folks checking on firefighters and making sure they're safe, and if they need a rest, we give them a rest. Jim?
Yeah, I just got a text from a concerned person who lives over there. It looks like a flare up in
Take it, Trevor.
So there'll continue to be flare-ups as this fire is only 50% contained. However, the perimeter is not expected to grow. The fire should hold its footprint. So residents will see continued smoldering smoke and small flames, sometimes larger flames as we burn out pockets of unburnt fuel. So that'll be regularly occurring until we get significant rainfall to check the fire and sort of smother it.
You guys plan on any other updates today?
Okay. Yeah, 3 o'clock.
Right here.
Yes.
Hi. Karen Wall from Patch. How many, I know you said 170 homes were evacuated. Do you have an approximate number on how many people evacuated? And did you run into resistance? Because I was listening to radio traffic last night, and I know there were a couple of times where it appeared that there may have been people who stayed. If there are people who stay, do you have a message to people about evacuating when they're told to evacuate?
Okay.
Monitoring the radio transmissions last night, I did hear that, but to my knowledge, everyone evacuated voluntarily. So I asked that if a police officer shows up at your door and says it's time to evacuate, that you heed that. That's not something we take lightly. We utilize the resources of forest fire to tell us where the fire is going, and it's our job as law enforcement and our partners to make sure that people get out of there safely. So of the 170 homes that were evacuated between us and Lakehurst Borough, we had approximately 60 show up at the shelter. That was the last number that I had. The shelter is now closed, so everyone has returned back to their homes. I didn't hear of any resistance in Manchester Township when I was listening. I'm not sure about Lakehurst Borough, but if someone shows up at your door and asks you to leave, I understand everyone likes their homes, but there's a reason. That's not something we take lightly. We have our Nixle system, and we put out an alert, a reverse 911 to everyone ahead of time of when a police officer gets there, so that at the very least they're packing. What we found, especially in the areas we did in the Horicon Road, is that when we get there, people were already moving, which is very helpful. So once you get those alerts and sign up for our Nixle system, and an officer shows up at your door, it's late in the process. You need to get moving, and any resistance, listen, we're not arresting anybody for staying in their home. We certainly don't advise it. It's only in the interest of public safety. And on top of that, we have the firefighters in the backyard, and they're doing their thing, so we don't want anyone getting hurt when we have firefighting operations either.
Sorry about that, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat the roads where the homes were evacuated?
So the roads in Manchester Township were on Horicon Road and Beckerville Road. And Beckerville has an east section and a west section. And then in Lakehurst Borough, it was the area around Division Street and Myrtle, which back up to basically what they call Proving Ground Road, which enters the Pinehurst gate of Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the answer to your question about the number of fires yesterday statewide was 15. However, that number could increase slightly as additional reports are coming into our system overnight.
This time of year, is that a typical number or is that an aberration?
At this time of year, I mean, April is peak fire season in New Jersey, so that's a pretty typical number. This year, though, we have seen, since the start of the year, an increase in the number of fires compared to last year. So fire season also got started a little bit earlier this year as well. Okay, we'll reconvene. Oh, hi, Judy.
Hi, Greg. Would this be a good time maybe to talk about what the communities in Manchester Township can do to assist the Forest Fire Service in their communities?
Do you want to come talk about it?
No. Firewise USA.
Yes, absolutely. So what Judy's referring to is Forest Fire Service works with municipalities to help them develop what we call community wildfire protection plans, which identifies where fire risk may be present, and then we offer assistance to help mitigate those wildfire risk measures. We offer grant funding as well to fund treatments, perhaps, if you will, to reduce fuels and mitigate that risk. We also work with residents on evacuation plans, and through our what's called Firewise Communities USA program, we help those residents to be able to be prepared and take action themselves to create conditions such as defensible space around their homes, where perhaps they can change things out, such as wood mulch to stone, reduce flammable vegetation to less flammable vegetation. Thanks for pointing that out, Judy. Okay, folks, we can reconvene again this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to be home taking a nap by 3 o'clock.
Yes, you could have said that. Don't come up with this 3 o'clock idea.
I'll be in